Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first Remember the Name Shoutcast. This is Ciez, and I'm joined today with my good friend Momo for show, and we're going to be bringing you a game from the most recent ESL tournament. Are you ready, Momo?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to unpause in three, two, one, unpause. Seven, eight, nine, 10.
We're good.
Alrighty, and so our first competitor today is Helping Hans. He'll be playing the OKW on the top side of the map, and his opponent in this match is going to be Easy, playing the US forces down in the bottom. And now, Momo, who do you think has an advantage in this matchup during this patch?
On this patch, between these two factions, I think it's really a toss-up. It really depends on which player is able to set the momentum in the early engagements and how their opponent reacts to it. So, if Easy's going to put a lot of emphasis on light vehicle play and being aggressive, or trying to play defensively versus Mr. Hans. Let's see how he reacts to that.
Alrighty, and what about this map? Do you think either top or bottom side is favored particularly? I know they made some changes recently, most notably that giant building in the center part of the map has been removed.
Yeah, ever since the changes to the maps, especially this one, I think it sort of neutralized most of the advantages any spawn can get. Especially with the south spawn having that fence removed, it's cleared up pathing, and the battle is usually not centralized on the middle as much anymore because of the building being gone. So it sort of equalizes it. But in terms of faction balance on the map, I think both of these factions are quite strong, especially with ISG and the Pack Howie having a field day with how small the map is in particular.
Very good. We can see we're having a early engagement in the middle here. Easy was trying to push up with the rifles, but Hans definitely fends him off with really good Stern Pioneer Micro and a Vote Squad supporting. I've noticed that Hans has not opted for a Kubel wagon, something that has seemed extremely popular to start with this patch now that it can cap and actually do quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, the Kubel's definitely shown itself to be a much more aggressive unit now that it's gotten the capping potential, even more so than it was a suppression tool, because now it does more damage just because of the fact it doesn't suppress any longer. So it's great at harassing cutoffs, it's great at decapping fuels, it's just great at being really annoying, just like it was before, but in a different fashion.
And both players are already, both seem like they want to be aggressive. They've each decapped each other's fuels. Easy looks like he's going to get his back, pushing off some Vokes up top, and Hans is moving in some Vokes to try to recap his own fuel as well.
Yeah, Easy's done a good job here in the south. He's capping the fuel while not keeping himself blind to the far south near his base, preventing Hans from just easily taking the garrison by the muni and the fuel. So he's provided himself with a buffer zone here to maintain his harassment of the fuel, which is quite nice to see.
And Hans actually going for 4 Volks. His Stern Pioneer's having to go home with 1 man. So Easy, I think he's done quite well for himself in the early game. Hans, half of his army is retreating or having to reinforce. He capped Hans's fuel, so it's going to take a long time for Hans to get that back. And Hans just picked up a Doctrine and called in an MG34. I really like the MG34 on this map, although I think the Fallschirmjäger Doctrine's not particularly, super. I don't think you're fond of it, is what I'm trying to say.
The MG34, yeah. This Doctrine especially, because it's really manpower heavy, especially with Hans going for 4 Volksgrenadier. He hasn't even built a truck, let alone laid his tech yet. So it may help him in the early game because his unit count is larger than Easy's, which has gone with a second RE now after getting through Rifleman, which is really weird. I haven't seen that often. Maybe it's indicating that he's going to go Rifle Company. Rifle Company was very strong on this map prior to the changes, but now that there's less garrisons, maybe it's not so good of a call, so we'll see how that develops.
Yeah, I was thinking he might just be going for more of an old school captain build where players will opt for the second RE over a 4th rifle and then pick up captain. It's a little bit, you have a little bit less strength early game, but you have a little bit more versatility in the mid and late game with extra repairs, extra bazooka squads if you want, and a little bit, you save yourself a little bit of manpower.
Yeah, that is true. He is building captain, so that part of your prediction is right. I just don't know how efficient it is to go for the second RE, considering that most USF vehicles can repair themselves, but it's not something to take lightly, of course, extra repairs.
Yeah, and he might also be wanting a little bit of extra sweeping potential, or if he does opt for Rifle Company, he'll have an additional flamethrower that he can call in if he needs it.
Krauts are sniffing around our asses. Tactical point being captured.
Once again, both players decapping each other's fuels. They're just fighting all over the map, and so far I'm liking the changes. I think this is the first game I've cast on this map. And I haven't played too many 1v1s on this map since the changes, but you can see that right now, 3 different points in 3 different spots of the map are being contested rather than before where sometimes things just got funneled into the middle.
Very true. You sort of had to deal with what was at mid before you're able to harass anything, so it's nice to see that it's a lot more fluid and not sort of linear like before. Easy's done a good job though here, even with his disadvantage in infantry. He's sort of ignored Hans's harassment in the south with his 2 Volks and is going for the cutoff while maintaining a presence at the mid. So
Yeah,
his fuel income,
very, very good call.
yeah, his fuel income stabilized now. We'll probably be seeing a Stewart from him. Hans is preemptively built a RtN. He has it cloaked already, heading to the north cutoff. So he's definitely preparing for some sort of vehicle. I don't think Easy's even revealed his captain yet, so maybe Hans is preparing for the captain, the Stewart, because an M20 would have been out by now. A half-track would have been out by now. So we'll see how that works out.
And Hans is going to notice the captain now as it's moving in to engage some squads near Easy's fuel. And I definitely agree that Hans, he has to know what's up at this point. A player that plays as much as he does and is as proficient as he is definitely going to be familiar with those timings. At the very least, he would have seen the LT squad, even if Easy, for whatever reason, went LT and opted not to grab vehicles.
Yeah, most definitely. For players like Hans and Easy and others, it's not difficult for them to infer what's going on in the mind of their opponent, especially when it comes to stuff like teching. So I'm sure he's made calculations regarding that. And Easy has built a pack howie now. Dropped in quite a lot of manpower. Guess he was anticipating having to deal with multiple MGs. So far he has 1. So it's not something to take lightly. Pack howie is quite a beast on this map, especially when it gets veterancy with its new barrage, the phosphorus and the explosive.
Easy once again harassing Hans Fuel while trying to fight over his own. Although I don't think this harassment attempt is going to go very well for him. He has a 2-man RE squad, very low health up there, and also a low health 2-man rifle squad.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that.
We just lost a unit.
Yeah, I think the problem now is, for a lot of USF players, is they need to realize what's tangible for them and what isn't. See, in this case, it took a pack howie and I think a captain and a rifle to fend off Hans on his own fuel. You know, it might have been better for Easy to consolidate his own fuel and his portion of the map on the right, rather than try to harass everywhere where he could have not been successful in either of his pursuits. Good mine by Hans in the mid-road, causing quite a bit of manpower bleed on that rifleman squad.
Yeah, that was 3 rifles on that one mine. Hans probably would have rather had a Stewart run into the mine since his rack was right there, but I think he'll be happy with forcing the easy retreat and bleeding that manpower.
Yeah, not the best scenario, but not something to be upset about either.
And here's something else I'm noticing now, and it's kind of a new possibility for OKW after their tech changes, is Hans played a very, very heavy early game with infantry, and he called in a late truck, converted to medics, and now he's already called in another truck, and he has plenty of fuel in the bank, so he could put up a tier 4 or a mech. He can kind of, you know, the world is his oyster at this point, whereas before he might have had to wait. You know, you're kind of a lot more pressured to put up an early truck so you'd get your second one early as well.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the new OKW changes. There's a lot more decisions. You know, there's a lot more options given to the OKW player regarding teching. There is no, like you described, rushing a truck, so you'll have your next one available at a moment's notice. Now you can sort of pick a feel for how the game's moving, the momentum, so you can react to that rather than try to preempt everything like before. We can see he's preparing his truck here to build the Schwer headquarters by his fuel. He's just waiting to sort of create a buffer zone so that he doesn't have to defend it while it's being built. And we have a Stewart coming out from Mr. Easy, so we'll see how much of an impact that'll have with just one Shrek, two Shreks actually on the field, and a RtN that's heading back to base.
2 Shreks in a rack, though. I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily agree with grabbing the Stewart.
He may feel that he's pressured. He may feel that he doesn't have much time to put the game back in his favor, because right now he's struggling to cap back his own fuel. He's losing a lot of engagements, and you know, he feels as if his opponent is going to have something else very soon if he doesn't change the momentum of the game.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how much room the Stewart's going to have to work with already 3 dedicated AT units on the field, and it's a pretty small map as it is. Hans has been planting mines. Easy doesn't have a sweeper yet, so that might be something he's going to want to pick up. He has plenty of munitions for it. His pack howitzer finally picking up a kill. So it really hasn't been paying for itself yet, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, you see, I think Easy is being a bit, I don't know if he's forgotten by now or he's just going with the wind, but as soon as you step on that mine there at the mid with your rifleman, you gotta queue up your sweepers, because you don't know where they're at right now, so you need to make absolutely sure that your Stewart or any vehicle hits the field uninterrupted by snares. You know, stuff at least in your control, like a sweeper sweeping mines. It's quite a shame to hit one.
Sweeper on his stern, so I'll have to see if he's gonna send it down some of the roads. It's pretty far out of the way right now, but hopefully he can get it into the middle of the map and make sure Stewart has at least a little bit of room to work. And Hans does pick up a 3rd Shrek though, and it's not super far from a 4th if he wants to invest more munitions into AT.
Yeah, the 4 Volks makes it very hard for light vehicle play to succeed as US forces, because they can be everywhere. So when you're trying to counter harass your opponent and he just has light AT there, it's kind of hard to stabilize your resources.
Easy Sweeper had a rough retreat path, almost got picked off. That would have been absolutely horrible for him.
Yeah, having to replace your sweepers isn't really the most ideal scenario. I think Easy's going to see the Schwer now, and he's going to have a sense of urgency creep up on him that he needs to make something happen now. There we go. He's retreated from there instantly. Good call. Hans has a lot of fuel.
At least, yeah, he does. He could get a Panzer IV very soon if he wanted, or in my opinion, it might just be better for him to try to rush a Panther, because the Stewart's actually somewhat okay at keeping the Panzer IV at bay. It can keep popping its abilities just to be a big nuisance and then run away, whereas the Panther can just kind of laugh at the Stewart and just chase it down and kill it in, you know, very quickly.
Yeah, most definitely, especially since the way they structured the fuel cost of the Panzer IV and the Panther for OKW, there is no extra teching involved, so you just have to hold on for 50 more fuel and get a much better tank. So I would definitely agree with the call to wait for Panther. And since his harassment of Easy's fuel has been so strong, he doesn't really have to worry about a tank overlapping him while he's waiting for his own. So there's no major out for Easy. He's not even close to the... He is close to the fuel for the major, but then the tank is quite far away. So he is queuing up a P4 though, so I guess he feels like he's in such a far ahead position that he can just finish the game off with the P4. But Easy has made an AT gun in preparation of that. So nice.
Yeah, I think you have to be a lot more careful with the P4, because he has a captain, he has an AT gun, and a Stewart. That's definitely enough to combat a P4, whereas the frontal armor of a Panther just is so godly against the US AT gun and bazookas.
Krauts are taking
Very
one
true.
of our points.
Crew ready. Crew, stand by.
Rifle squad now equipped to lay mines, sandbags, and build
Easy
flight.
finally picking up a
Capture point is
doctrine,
being
and he's going to
overrun.
have the Pershing if he wants to, and at this point it actually might be worth him just trying to stall for a Pershing rather than teching Major.
Yeah, with the advent of the Persian Commander, I believe it's called Heavy Cavalry, USF has added another strategy to its arsenal. Now it can replicate the Soviets and the Wehrmacht faction with their low amount of teching, call-in-oriented
One of our capture points.
strategy. So rather than having to tech Major and be sort of, you know, scared if he can even reach a tank or not, depending on how harassed his fuel becomes, he can just sit and wait tight for a heavy tank that can just counter practically any vehicle Hans makes,
Capture point is under
or at least go
attack.
toe-to-toe with them.
Yeah, for sure, because at this point if he teched Major, he'd still be like 100 fuel away from a next tank, whereas if he just waits for the Pershing, he's still 100 fuel away. He's going to get a Pershing rather than a Sherman, and the Pershing is definitely a lot stronger of a tank.
Yeah, it is quite a behemoth. Good micro from both players. Hans trying to harass the AT gun with a incendiary grenade. Easy just backing off. But he is struggling right now to hold just this one territory point outside of his base. Although he is succeeding in harassing the north and capping the fuel and the VP.
Just came in. Objective
The Packhowie finally picks up Vet 1. It's only got 3 kills though. If it could start getting some good hits, it might really be able to bring Easy back into this game and bleed Hans a lot more than he has been so far.
Yeah, he does have access to the white phosphorus now, so it may be really, really efficient at breaking up these defensive formations with these team weapons, MG and RtNs especially.
Yeah, especially the way that Hans is right now kind of grouped up in the middle of the map, trying to put so much pressure on Easy's base. If the Packhowie gets a few good shots in, it'd be great for dislodging this position. And Easy picking up bars on some of his riflemen. Hopefully that'll help even out the infantry combat as well. I almost think he should have teched grenades to help combat these MGs though.
Yeah, it really is hard to determine which you want more. At one point, on one hand, you have your opponent with Shrek, so he has no opportunity for an AI upgrade. So you can sort of take advantage of that by getting yourself bars, which would, you know, considerably help your engagements versus these Volksgrenadiers. But, like you said, MGs can give you quite a bit of trouble when you don't have smoke grenades, and the Packhowie can't be shooting at all the MGs at once, so it might have been the better call to get grenades. Hans has been microing his P4 quite well. He's using this house at the mid as a shot blocker, so he can pick off at flanking riflemen rather than have to deal with snares and AT gunshots.
Hans actually just picked up an ISG of his own. I wonder if he's just wanting some indirect fire or if he wants to try and use it to knock out the pack howitzer. I wonder if he's scared that if it gets vetted up much more, it's going to become a pretty big nightmare for him to have to deal with.
Yeah, especially considering the Vet 5 system. If both of them just remain on the field, then eventually the ISG is just going to outclass the pack howitzer. Barring some mistakes by any player, of course.
Easy hoping to get a handle back on the top side of the map of his fuel, but that MG34 just suppressing both squads he sent up there. The Steward is going to try and help out, but he has another Shrek Volk there. All of Hans's Volks do have Shreks, and the veterancy starting to get stacked up. Vet 4, Vet 3, Vet 2, and Vet 3. That could be a big problem, although one of his Vet 3 squads might go down in retreat.
Ooh.
He should really be chasing that with the Steward a little bit, in my opinion. The Panzer Force coming to block.
Yeah,
any
he was most
chase
like.
of the Steward.
Yeah, he was definitely microing other things, but players need to make a habit of taking advantage of those nice RNG situations and punishing your opponent for sticking around too long. And as you explained, you know, we're seeing him being punished by grabbing bars rather than nades. His only nade throwing unit right now is his Rangers, and he doesn't have access to smoke nades besides his commander ability, which is really, really expensive for what it does. But he does come up with a nice flank behind 2 support weapons and a Volk, so we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of damage on the ISG. Meanwhile, the Panzer IV is getting pushed away on the other side of the map. Easy's captain moving up to get some good shots in. That house is so low. Whew.
Just
I
one
was
more
scared
pack
there
out
for
shot.
that. Yeah, those Vet 4 Volks could have gone down. And these Rangers doing a great job of pushing off the entire other side of the map.
Yep, that's the weakness
And
of
then
heavy
the
Volk
ISG.
builds. Oh my god.
That ISG shot's gonna put
Run
an end
away,
to that.
Rangers.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
Pakao is creeping in on Vet 2 though, and that should help it a lot against the ISG as long as the ISG is still Vet 0.
He's reached the fuel for his Pershing. He just needs 1.25 CPs, and we're gonna see a huge momentum shift in the game. I'm sure of it. Especially if Hans starts bleeding too much for his eventual Panther. I would assume he's going for a Panther.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, I think at this point, you've seen the Rangers, so you know that the Pershing is an option, and you haven't seen a Major. So I think you have to know that you're going to be facing down a Pershing, so you should either pick up a JP4 or a Panther, because another Panzer IV, while it would help you maintain map control and bleed, isn't really going to be anything but Pershing food once the Pershing hits the field.
Exactly.
Hans overall doing a great job on the VP control, which is something that I think in the past he's kind of struggled with, but this match he has quite a sizable VP lead and is about to put Easy on the triple cap again.
Yeah, the Schwer over there by the fuel, even though it isn't covering the VP, it gives the OKW player quite a bit of space to harass everywhere else that the Schwer isn't protecting. So as we see, most of the fighting has been concentrated on Easy's own fuel because Hans doesn't have to defend his own. So that's one of the greater strengths of these trucks the OKW has at their disposal.
Do you think that it would be a good idea for Easy to try to push down that tier 4 once his Pershing comes? If you sent the Pershing and basically your whole army with the AT gun over there, I think you could kill it pretty quickly.
Yeah, 100% agree with that, because the tier 4 right now, especially with the doctrine that Hans has picked, is 100% vital to the OKW strategy. If you lose that early enough, especially before you make your first tank, it's almost always lights out for you. So Hans is queuing up his Panther right now. I'm pretty sure it's too late if Easy were to rush at it right now. But when you want to take out the Schwer, it's best to commit everything you have so your push is successful. So right now, I don't know what he's trying to do with the Pershing.
Yeah, just kind of sitting in base. You think he would have sent it out and, you know, used the shock value as much as possible.
Yeah, I think he's waiting for his infantry at base. He's bleeding quite a bit with that 640 manpower drop. So we'll see. See what this Pershing is going to reveal itself any second now. It's nice that he kept his Steward alive because he'll be able to use that in tandem with this Pershing against any of Hans's armor with the stun and engine damage, engine destroy, point blank engine shot ability. So as long as he keeps that alive, he'll use it as quite a nuisance for any vehicle practically. Yeah, smart play from Hans here, just putting a RtN by Schwer. It's usually the safe call to prevent any sort of armor push on it.
Yeah, I think he's worried that Easy's going to kind of have the same idea that we had, and now the Pershing's getting really aggressive, and this is almost a little bit questionable because he doesn't have a sweeper with him. He's just kind of running straight down the road, and the Panther's going to come say hello.
Yeah, he's taking risks he doesn't need to take, especially if there was a mine there. It would have been practically game over with 2 Shreks, a Panther, and a P4 ready to follow up on a mine. But thankfully for him, there was no mine, so he's able to pull back.
He did manage to decrease the ISG, and his Pakao is up to that 2. So in terms of the indirect fire warfare, he has a bit of an advantage. Han's making a huge push towards Easy's base.
Yeah, it's Pakao.
Right now. Panther blitzing in, takes a huge hit from the Pershing. The P4 goes down to half health as well. Good thing that didn't keep pushing because there was a mine right there that Hans hasn't hit yet. These bar riflemen just coming straight out of the base and pushing Hans right off.
Yeah, good positioning of his AT gun. Covered his behind there, so nice to see that. RtN misses a shot against a Pershing, so that's a bit unfortunate for Hans. Stewart
Yeah,
is...
and Iraq's really out of position now, and Easy, he kind of seems like he's looking for it with that Vet 2 rifleman, but there he goes, he finds it. Hans can probably get it back if he yeah, he does unfocus, so he needs to get it back in range of that tier 4 to protect it. Losing that would be a really big blunder.
Yeah, very good squad preservation by both players. I think there's only been one loss by Easy so far, the rear echelon.
Yeah, the units killed is actually almost dead even, the damage dealt is almost dead even, and the units lost, Easy has only lost his 1 RE. Other than that, I think everything has lived from both players, even both of all of their vehicles.
Pershing here, it looks like it's going for the tier 4. We saw the Pack Howie barraging it, so maybe we're gonna see a concentrated push here by Easy to take that out, even though it is kind of one of the lower responsibilities now that 2 tanks are out, so maybe he should focus on taking one of them out before pushing the Schwer. But either way, it's not a bad decision, as long as he can pull it off.
2 nice hits on the Stewart. This is risky. The Pershing does take out the rack. This P4 is blitzing in. It wants to kill the Stewart.
Uh-oh.
Pershing lays a nice round on the Panther. Stewart lives somehow.
Oh.
This
He could have backed,
in
yeah.
a really bad spot. Does
Oh,
the Pershing
wow.
get one more shot at the Panther? Oh, okay, the P4 gets out. The Panther's tracing the Pershing, but it decides to hang back. I think Hans probably could have chased there, but I do think it's good that he's going to play it safe. He's going to keep his armor alive. He's starting to build a JP4, so that's going to be quite a deadly tank force, and he has a backbone still of 4 Volks with 4 Shreks. I'm a little bit wondering why hasn't he gotten Obers or Falls at this point in the game?
Yeah, I don't know either. Obersoldaten are monsters. If you keep them alive, they will reward you, just like any other OKW unit. The Vet5 system rewards good unit preservation, so you want some beasts like Obers or Falls on your side, but he's deciding with a JP4, which isn't a bad call, given the nature of the Pershing, but we'll see how that works out for him. It's really a toss-up, because, like you said, he played it safe there with that tank engagement, but it could have gone either way with RNG in the works. RNG can decide games just like that, so we'll see if it
Yeah,
plays
he's
a
got
role
a little
later.
lucky keeping the Stewart alive. So what unit do you think that Easy's going to need to get next to combat what is turning out to be a really robust force from Hans?
I think if you want something short term, he'd have to go for a second AT gun to, even with the 2 tanks out, he doesn't know there's a third, so I'd assume it'd be the natural response for him to get a second AT gun if he sees the JP4, which he has, or he could play the longer route, Tech Major and get a Jackson. So, or he may just be saving fuel to replenish his Pershing right away if it dies. So those are the options he has. None of them are bad, but it's hard to say what's best since we don't know how they're going to play out.
Do you think that Jackson would be a viable option with a rack and 4 Shreks on the field, or do you think it might be better to just pick up another, like Tech Major, pick up a Sherman and get more AI in the mix and, you know, a decent amount of AT?
I think the Jackson would be the better call, as long as he keeps it protected, as long as he doesn't push up with it on its own, as long as the AT gun and the Pershing are nearby to support. The Sherman really struggles against even the P4, so because it's a OKW P4 that comes with armored skirt, and now Easy's about to lose his AT gun. Yeah, it's been destroyed.
The really nice flank from those Sturms on that AT gun crew. Easy didn't bring it back, and right before the captain can get there to recrew it, the JP4 finishes it off, and so he's definitely going to have to pick up an AT gun in the very near future.
Yeah, it's going to cost him quite a bit of manpower he can't afford, and he is queuing up one now. Could have been a second one if he noticed that flank.
Hans dropping some falls just on the top VP. I guess he wants to get the triple cap rolling again and try to end the game as soon as possible.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a good call considering he knows the other two VPs are being contested, so it seemed like a waste of the munitions in my opinion. Now he's gonna have to deal with even more bleed because of the population cap increase. Not the wisest choice there in my opinion.
Yeah, he also just kind of wastes the munitions that could have been used to, you know, attack Hans's units with those strafes, which are pretty powerful. And as that 5 volt might go down in mid, think it'll get out on the retreat since the captain was suppressed.
Another good
These
escape for
volts
him.
over by Easy's fuel.
Oh, that's a dead steward.
Oh, yeah. Okay. For a second, I thought it was gonna live.
Yeah.
Just a sliver of health.
The road helped him for a bit there. That mine got destroyed by, I believe that was the Pershing.
Yeah, it was his own Pershing killed his own mine, unfortunately, because that mine could have been huge if Hans got aggressive with his tanks like he had been. Easy has been doing a really great job of dodging all of Hans's grenades. And
Yeah, props to him for that. Hans hasn't been having to deal with any, not many nades. I'm not sure if the Rangers have thrown nades. Yeah, I'd assume they'd have, so I'm sure both players' micros on top.
The MG. I do think it'd be worth it for Easy to tech grenades at this point, though. You have plenty of fuel in the bank, it doesn't cost a lot of manpower, and it seems like he has bars everywhere, plus 240 munitions. I guess he could save it for smoke, but you might be able to catch some nice wipes on unsuspecting units, especially at this point of the game when everything gets so hectic.
Very true, and Easy has had a triple cap on Hans for the last minute or so. It is about to get broken by these Fallschirmjäger that, by the way, haven't been reinforced, so he's suffering from bleeding. Or at least he hasn't stuck around to reinforce them because they're queuing up reinforce right now. He's building a truck right now. He's going to put up his mechanized regiment. Not a bad choice when he's pop capped.
Yeah, definitely. Get some extra repair and the option of a KT late game if things get really crazy. Easy does pick up his major, and his Pack is finally starting to pay for itself. 13 kills, Vet 3, can shoot almost all the way across the map at this point.
Did Hans salvage his ISG, or did Easy destroy it? Because I don't see it anywhere.
Yeah, it's near Hans's base. The Pershing, I think, took it out when it got really aggressive for a second, and it is curious why Hans hasn't picked it back up. I guess just because he's at 100 pop and wants to have all 5-man squads everywhere.
Good call, good catch there, yeah.
Easy's REs are getting dangerously low. Yeah, he does get them out. That would be another, you know, it'd be very unfortunate, like I said earlier, if he lost his only sweeping squad at this point in the game. And I'm really wondering why Hans hasn't been planting more mines. He knows Easy only has one tank left. He has a JP4 and a Panther on the field. If he can catch the Pershing for 1 second in one mine, it's going to go down very, very fast.
It is really hard to put an emphasis on mines when your engineer unit is mostly used for combat. So there is that to his defense, but at the same time, you're right. There usually isn't an excuse, especially with the muni float that he's been having.
Yeah, especially at this point in the game when you kind of have a bunch of Volks everywhere with good veterancy and a couple tanks that can start carrying the weight of killing stuff for you.
Yeah. The thing with Easy's re-echelons, I've noticed, it doesn't seem like he's actively sweeping, like he's using them for that purpose per se, but rather with harassing. As you see, he keeps retreating from the north ends of the resource point on the map, but he's not running through the left or the right. At least I haven't noticed him doing so, so maybe I'm just missing that, but from what I've seen, it seems like he's not actively using it as a sweeper. He is queuing up a Jackson now. I'd like to see Captain use Supervise so it comes out very fast. But a lot of players overlook that. It's quite a nifty ability.
Yeah, especially when the Captain's already in the base. And actually, Fall's pushing in, cutting down that AT gun. Hans is going to have a really good chance to take it out.
Yeah, he is using
He's going to be able to put it back up, pick it back up. Yeah, he'll get it. The fall's still there though, focusing it down, but Easy's pulling it back out of range and pushing in really hard with some barred riflemen.
Yeah, Hans has got a good composition here with the Panther protecting his JP4 from any sort of flank. It's just chilling there waiting for... He's sort of baiting the Pershing into coming in for him.
The Panther pushing up really far actually, and I really like the positioning of Hans's tanks. He has the Panzer IV cutting off any harass on that area of the map, and then he has his 2 other tanks holding the center and the top, which makes it really hard for Easy to move anywhere.
Jackson's hit the field. We'll see how much of an impact this has. He needs to be really careful with it because, like you said, 4 Shreks on the field, a Faust with the snare, the Fallschirmjägers, and 3 tanks. And Jackson is definitely a glass cannon.
Hungry.
Yeah.
Jackson already takes 2 really
wow.
big hits. The Panther's moving into chase, although the Pershing's going to be on the flank, and Hans can't see the Jackson anymore. It lays in a really big hit on that Panther, taking out a half health.
He's being really risky here with this Jackson. He's
Yeah,
going
they
in
know
there
it's
without any
Pershing,
support.
too.
That's gonna die. There's no
that
way.
Jackson's super dead.
Oh, out of control. He may get one more hit in. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, did get a hit in, but he's unable to follow up on that. So, unfortunately, it was somewhat of a throwaway of the Jackson, and now Hans is calling in more falls on the AT gun, pins 2 other squads with it. Now these planes are doing a lot of damage. Already taking the AT gun down to 2 men, might wipe it. The falls surely will.
Yeah, this is a good usage of his. Okay, never. That was just unlucky there, but that was a good attempt.
Yeah, speaking of RNG helping games. P4 getting really brave against 3 squads, and Hans
is
very,
Vet
very
3.
quickly pulls it back.
Really close to Vet 4. These things, Vet 5, like I said, it just rewards you. Keeps your stuff alive. Keep your stuff alive, and you're just gonna outclass your opponent.
Yeah, and just I think every single one of Hans's Volks is now at 5.
Yeah, almost. He does have 2 falls now, though, so the pop cap is there, and the bleed is gonna mount up. He's already struggling to reinforce his Volksgrenadier, let alone everything else.
Panzer IV picking up Vet 4 now. It has 30 kills, 31 kills. It's been bouncing AT gun shots for days. JP4 cloaked up in mid.
Paul is forced to retreat here by the Pershing and may get one more shot off. He can attempt an attack ground, but the Panther does creep up in
Volks,
case.
yeah, Volks coming in on a really nice flank. I think trying to decrew that Vet 3 pack howie. I don't know that they'll get it though, and they're pushing off that AT gun. And as that's happening, the Panther's coming in on top to get some good shots in on the Pershing.
He's repairing his Pershing while fighting, so
Yeah, I think
as long as the rear echelons don't get
JP4
focused on.
missed.
Yeah.
I think the JP4 and the Panther missed on those hits, and actually Easy somehow stole a rack. So he's gonna have access to 2 AT guns now, which should help him quite a bit with these Axis tanks.
Yeah, its
Rack
penetration
lining
isn't
up
so
for a
bad.
shot. Yeah, its pen's pretty good.
The enemy is overrunning one of our
See, it's
capture
gonna.
Panther and JP4 pushing in on that Pershing. Rack hitting a nice shot on the JP4.
You see the end of the JP4. The Pershing attempts to get one more hit. He's using cautious movement when he's spotted. It may cost him his tank here if Easy uses attack ground. Don't think he attempted it, so even though it may not have been certain, there was a possibility he could have gotten lucky. He could have definitely killed it if he pursued with his Pershing. It's unfortunate. But again, his squad preservation has been really good, so it's nice to see that from a USF player this late in the game, because once you start losing your vet squads against OKW, it's just replacing them just does really nothing, because you just can't vet up. You're always forced to retreat, and especially the muni cost going into replenishing their upgrades is just too much. So it's nice to see that he's kept all 3 rifles, Ranger and Officer, alive.
Yeah, and do you think it'd be worth him starting to use his combined arms? He has over 400 munitions, and I don't think he's used that ability a single time, and especially now he's under 100 manpower. I mean, sorry, 100 VPs. Either he's gonna have to plant a bunch of mines somehow during all this fighting, which I don't think is really gonna happen, or maybe just start spamming it to get a little bit of extra efficiency out of all of his army.
Yeah, I mean, there was our call for nades a while back. That could have helped. Combined arms, most definitely. There's no need to float this much munitions. It's quite a shame to see, really. Like you said, he could be planting mines on the VPs to sort of help stem the bleed, especially the ones on the peripherals, because there's a lot more combat over there. So I'd really like them to start using his munitions. Even with his AT gun Sabit rounds, I don't think he's used that yet. So I don't know. There's not really an excuse in his defense for the munitions flow.
Yeah, I think his Pershing has been a little bit too cautious recently, although maybe he just doesn't want to risk it at all, but at this point you're going to have to make some kind of a play to get back into the game.
It does use its ability with the nade there, and it is Vet 3 now. He does have a good buffer in the mid, so he can't get enveloped by the Panther and JP4.
These Falls just constantly shooting at that AT gun crew. They must be so mad right now at Falls.
That's all they're good for now. Clearing crew weapons. They are like one of the most glass cannon-ish units in the game, infantry-wise, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably the most.
They're like the Jackson of infantry.
There, Hans is still sniping that AT gun, even with rifles right there.
Yeah, it's a shame to lose
Just
that
try
Panther.
to knock it out. Yeah, I think Hans is moving his Panther in to try to knock it out. I think he knows that if he can get rid of that AT gun, that he's just not going to have the AT that he needs. And somehow the Panther doesn't take the shot. I really think he could have stuck around and knocked that thing out. Guess he might have been scared of a snare.
A rifleman may go down.
The mid is so low. Falls shooting at it, but at max range does get out of there.
The veteran C3 survival received accuracy, definitely played a part in survival there.
Yeah, I think Easy's entire army, at least in terms of mainline infantry, is also Vet 3, so we're seeing just tons of vetted infantry slugging it out in the late game. This Panzer IV gets up to Vet 5, 41 kills now. Been an absolute monster for Easy to have to deal with, and two of the squads getting pretty overextended, low health.
The capture point is under attack.
Yeah, he needs to be careful. You could have utilized nades quite well in these engagements. I mean, smoke to prevent him being attacked, at least normally without attack ground on the VPs. Throwing nades at all of the units while his opponent may not be paying attention. It's a great way to get rid of these Vet 5 squads that are giving you problems. Because he hasn't been able to get rid of even one squad so far.
Which is something that Pershing is normally pretty decent at, but
Tactical movement from Hans here.
yeah, he's really rushing in on that Pershing, but his Volks kind of just died instead of actually
Two
doing
falls
it.
obliterating these crew weapons. There we go, one Volk down.
Pershing getting really aggressive on that Panzer IV. And the Panther's coming to flank, the JP4 has it from the front.
Uh-oh, I don't know if this is a good idea with the Panther. The
Pershing.
captain's, I don't know what the captain's doing. That's a dead Pershing. Nice play by Hans there. Easy sort of collapse. He got an AT gun cleared, the other one retreated back to base. He didn't snare.
Easy, drop smoke. I think he could have dropped smoke to prevented the JP4 and the
Yeah.
Panzer IV from hitting it. I think he might have been able to actually turn that engagement in his favor.
Yeah, it's a shame. He's up to 525 munitions and not using combined
Yeah,
arms,
if he-
not using a smoke. Did he use the special HVAP shells on the Pershing? I don't think he did, considering it's like 80 munitions and he's still at quite a bit.
Yeah, and that's a really powerful shot that it throws out. And
Yeah, it allows for a double shot, so you could have probably not even lost his Pershing, at least to the Panther. I just think in Easy's defense, I know I've been a victim of this, like when so many things happen, it's hard to keep track and play your best when you have so many units to control with all their separate abilities, so it sort of worked against him in this instant where he wasn't able to use his captain because it was running at mid rather than attacking the armor that was flanking. He only got one rifleman snare off. His RtN's still in base. It could have at least helped out with a couple shots there. His AT gun was cleared out.
Might just be kind of something like, this is still relatively a new commander in the grand scheme of things, you know, in the grand scheme of CO2, so it might just be something that's not instinctual, that, you know, oh, I have access to smoke, let me use it right now. He probably just forgets it in the back of his mind when he's just thinking, oh crap, my Pershing is about to die.
Yeah, definitely. That was the predominant thing going through his mind, rather than, it's hard to maintain a cool, consolidated conscience, you know, when things get really, really chaotic like they did. You know, he's having to deal with Valiant Assault of the Fallschirmjägers running at his undefended weapon support teams. You know, he's trying to deal with that, then all of a sudden 3 tanks are rushing his only tank, and he's just maneuvering it like hell just to survive, but unfortunately it was for naught. But it was quite a great effort, and I enjoyed watching and casting this game.
Yeah, it was definitely a sweet game. Huge props to Hans on this, just ridiculous amount of veterancy. He has 3 Vet 4 Volks left, and the one that did die to the Pershing was also Vet 5.
Vet 5 Pioneers
Vet
too.
4, Vet 5, yeah, Vet 5 Pios, Vet 4 on both of his MGs. So very well played from him. I think the only squad he lost was at the end of the game, those Volks that went down to the Pershing.
Yeah, and the RtN and the ISG.
Oh yeah, I actually forgot the ISG existed because it was just sitting in this base for so long.
I guess he just forgot about it, or just thought maybe it's not doing much for him anymore.
Alright, well the last thing I'll ask is, do you think that there are any other tech decisions Easy could have made, or do you think that, you know, going to Pershing and then calling in Major after that was the right call?
I think at the end of the day, 90% of the time would have made the same decision he had, as in waiting for Pershing and then back-teching, well not back-teching, but teching the Major for the Jackson. But another possibility would have been, you know, if his squad preservation wasn't so great, would have been back-teching to Lieutenant for 50 cals, because it's not sufficient to replace your riflemen to deal with vetted OKW infantry. So it would have been, you know, thankfully that wasn't the case, but for anyone else there having problems with their unit preservation, 50 cal back tech is usually a good idea. But in terms of the teching decisions he made, they were quite justifiable. I think they were good. He just needs to work on using his munition float. He didn't use any of the other abilities in his doctrine beside the mines, the Pershing, and the Rangers. He should have tech nades for sure, at least 20 minutes ago or so, I think. But other than that, this is something you learn from, because in my opinion, you don't lose. You either win or you learn, or both. So I'm sure he's taken a lot from this game and can use it in the next upcoming tournament. So good luck to him, and congratulations to Hans for winning the whole thing.
Absolutely, thank you very much for joining me, Momo, and we're going to go ahead and wrap it up with that.